Well, what do you know? Hey there, folks. I'm jumping on a minute early. This is John Duffin here with Duffin Media and Duffin Coaching. And guess what I get to do this afternoon? For the next, say, 30 to 45 minutes, I get the chance to work with all of you. And anyone here that's jumping on live, I cannot wait to see you. I know I'm a couple seconds early. I do that intentionally. I just want to get myself warmed up a little bit. And the fact of the matter is, when you get here, when you get to the table, I am ready for you. So anytime we're ready to get going, I'm ready to serve. And so in the meantime, figure we're going to start in about 1 minute, maybe not even a minute, right? But give me about 1 minute and then we are going to roll. So folks, I get to do a quick stop and then we will be on in, like I said, 1 minute. All right. Well, guess what? People are starting to file in, which really excites me. This is John Duffin here, folks, from Duffin Media and Duffin Coaching. I am over the moon that people are here. Hey, if you're here with me live, and I certainly hope that you are, utilize the comment, utilize the chat session, utilize the opportunity, drop a note in the comments. And for my LinkedIn friends, Zoran Pipers, oh my God. Yo. All right. So, folks, Zoran gave me the opportunity to get to speak to the St. Elizabeth's University baseball team. And I was over the moon for that opportunity. So I am thrilled. Folks, use the comments. I am a big believer in regards to just the fact, drop a note in the comments that you are here. Drop a note in the comments. Where are you from? It just makes me happy to know that people are here. So I'm thrilled to be here. As I said, for today, we're looking at roughly about 30 minutes. In my mind, what I'd love to be able to convey is 3 of my best tips in regards to optimizing your communications so that you get to optimize your life by leveraging your voice. Okay, I love that shirt and jacket combination, by the way. And that's why I got to use it. So today, literally, we're looking at about 30 minutes in regards to overall tricks, tips, hacks that get you to optimize your communications by leveraging your voice so that you will optimize your life. And again, I'm thrilled that you're here. If you stay with me to the end, and I hope you do, again, I'm thinking this is 30 minutes. We're not going to bludgeon people with slides and data. But the fact is, hey, it's summer. Come on. And the fact of the matter is, if you do, I'm going to put an opportunity in front of you. But stick with me to the end, and we'll see if this makes sense. If we get this to be interactive, great. If not, that's okay. But pipe up every time you get an opportunity, okay? Now, folks, one of the things I think about is this, which is literally, here's the question. I typically lead with every webinar that I do. It's the same question. It relates in several circles. And the question is this. Have you ever had a conversation or a presentation or an encounter in business where you've received surprisingly negative feedback? It just didn't match what you were thinking. You tried so hard and you prepped so hard and you thought you said everything that you needed to say. But as it turned out, you got the negative feedback and you really couldn't understand why. Today, folks, what we're going to focus on is this. My job here for this 5-day blitz. So the 5-day blitz is literally 5 easy pieces, to steal from a very old movie. 5 easy pieces that enable us to be able to make sure that you're optimizing your communications by leveraging your voice, by using these practices at work. we're taking these tips to the workplace. If you have a team, if you lead a team, if you are coaching a team, if you'd like to build a team, these tips will work. So, folks, today we are focusing on clarity. Here is tip number one. Why wait, right? Tip number one. I'm calling this tip in terms of clarity, right? The question in regards to clarity overall, clarity and communication is paramount. It inspires, it engages your teams, it fosters alignment. You get to achieve desired outcomes. But let me tell you something. It can also blow up in your face. Don't mean that to sound harsh. What I simply mean is this. It's not just being clear, it's sounding clear. So here's your first tip coming at you. I'm calling it, it's focus, not hocus pocus, right? How's that for? That's not a animated version of me, by the way. If it was, it would be highly flattering, and hell, it would be me at about 6 years old. But the fact is, here's a trick. Here's a tip. I swear to God, what it will do is take out the confusion. Who, where, why. I know you want to slap the word what in there. I know it. I get it. And if you want to do who, what, where, why, great. You go do it. I'm going to focus on who, where, why. I'm telling you, so often we get lost in our own thoughts. We're so driven by making certain that the messages are also clear in our head. Do we remember the data points? Do we remember, oh my God, the graphs and the charts and the pivot tables? I lived all of those dreams, nightmares, as we will say. But the fact of the matter is, here's one. What about the audience? What about the person you're speaking to? What about the group? If it's an individual, a team, a client, it is focus. Have you ever encountered someone that goes through a series of my cheat word was often the filler word, and that is a lack of focus, plain and simple. You want to fix it? Here's the hack. Who, where, why. Remember these three things. Number one, who are you speaking to? And you might be like, well, I'm speaking to them. They're right here. Okay. Center yourself. Who specifically? What is this about? Number two, where are you? Literally bring yourself back to the room, to the conference room table, to the boardroom, to the meeting. So often we're drifting. When you're speaking, why does it matter to them? Literally, you can bring yourself back into focus. It's so hard, I'm telling you, when you are drifting with all of the basic distractions that we're all walking in the door with, okay? So it is a challenge often to literally be able to just align to a situation, whether it's a phone call, whether it is a Zoom session, whether it's an in-person meeting, whether you're sending one of your team account executives or your managers to help a situation. If they are busy playing with their phone and their emails, the fact of the matter is they're not focusing, and this is where they sound distant and lost. How do you get it back? Simple. Literally think, who am I speaking with? Why am I speaking to them? Why does this matter to them? The expression I use so often, it only matters if it matters to them. So literally focus on the matter at hand. Let all the other stuff go. Okay. If you're able to leave your phone behind, and God, I know that's hard, do so, but you probably won't. You probably can't. And that's a different support group. I'm not handling that alum today. Josh Buckner. Yeah, baby. It is great to see you here. And thank you for the support, the kind words. But focus on the matter at hand. If you're speaking, I've had the good fortune to speak in front of audiences and in boardrooms and conference room tables. And the fact of the matter is, it's so hard to go into your if you're literally focusing on individuals. Have a series of conversations. My good buddy Zoran, who has showed up today, said about me, that it's like I'm having a series of conversations when I'm speaking. It is. And that's what I'm instilling with you. You want to sound clear. I'm sorry, let me say that better. You want to be clear. You want to sound clear. Well, the easiest way is to bring it to the person. The distance, the distractions, that's what takes you out of focus. It's that simple, okay? Any questions or comments, drop them in the comments, drop them in the chat. I will be happy to literally make that work for you. But the truth of the matter is, that's the first hack. It's the easiest way to go. Focus on the individual. And if your bonus tip, right? Ding, 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 bonus tip. If you are speaking on Zoom, there's a little bit of imagination that's going on. If it's like me today, right now, I'm speaking at a glass computer screen. And the fact of the matter is, it is harder to focus because the individuals are not there literally cheering you on. You have to literally use the who, where, why does it matter to them? Here's the background, and I'll give you the real quick background. So I remember two things. First off, I learned that from a voiceover coach. I do a number of auditions in voiceover. I didn't know this also applied to business. I thought I was just doing that. But the fact is, Kelly McGee, voiceover coach to the stars and to me, is the one that said to me, point blank, who are you talking to? Why does it matter? Where are you when you're speaking? And why does it matter? Try that when you're Zooming or on the phone. It brings you right back into the situation. Okay? Now, that's the setup. I'm going to go for tip number 2. Go a little nutso here and add this to the next opportunity. I call this tell me a story. Okay? So here's the setup. What we're trying to do when you're speaking at a presentation, here's what we're trying to do. We're trying to eliminate or at least simplify, dumb down, as you will say, complex concepts, technical jargon, tons, reams of data. You're trying to make the communication more accessible to a broader range, at least to the audience that you're speaking with, whether it's your client, whether it's the ad agency, if it's me, whether you're a realtor and you're speaking to a potential listing or what have you. The truth is, throwing reams of data is tough. Let me give you an example, story example, right? Speaking of stories, here's one. So I worked for an incredible media conglomerate. I worked for several, actually, but I'm going to give you the one example that we used to do. So I worked for a multicultural television company, digital, television, radio, events, what have you. And very often, we were not looked at as being at the top of the food chain. We thought we almost had to figure we had to find a way to get into the media buys. I'm talking to some of the largest ad agencies in the United States. I'm talking to some of the biggest clients. And the truth of the matter is what I would do. So you would go in and we would come in armed with data. Now, I'm not taking shots at the other media conglomerates, the ABCs, the NBCs, the CBSs, the Foxes. I get that, where they would literally come in with the programming. Everyone would ooh and ah about the programming, and they'd maybe put up some base data. And then the ad agency people, God love them, would make the decisions. We felt like we had to come in and literally bludgeon you with details. And so we did. Pivot table after graph after chart as to why our audiences buy cars, buy foods. It was literally 20 pages of research. And here was the problem. Often, I'll speak for me, you didn't understand the complexities of the data because you didn't prepare the data. Often your research team, God bless them, would be the ones that would compile the data and then hand it to you like somebody is handing their lunch to a young child on their way to school. Here you go. And you'd run out with the reams of data and you'd figure it out on the way. And your job as the senior level executive bringing a team was to make sure you remember to buy bagels and donuts for the ad agency. So you'd get to the meeting and you'd start to read off this complex data. And here's where the problem lies. You talk about clarity, talk about sounding clear. You don't even know what the hell this has to do with the situation. So you just start batting it out. Even worse, for me, I remember because I was in such fear that somebody was going to pick off a pivot table cell number and freak me out. So what would I do to solve the problem? I'd read it faster. God forbid someone would stop me. So I would just rattle through the data. You know what my biggest fear was? Here you go. A client, they meant well, would literally say, as I'm rattling through pivot table after pivot table, they would literally say, could you go back one slide? The part about cell number C497 squared, and then I would just die. Literally do everything up to and probably including burst into tears. You want to solve? Here's your solve, folks. Tell the story. Tell a real story. One of my favorite examples. Same media conglomerate, and I'm going to tell you a very similar client. One of my very favorite experiences, God, it was one of the coolest things, was working with one of the large, and we had the pleasure of working with several large automotive companies. Here was one of them. They were a big deal in Philadelphia. Big deal, right? And so it was everyone's marquee account. We were threatened with losing the account. And I remember my own team, I was responsible for the team. There were 5 members to this specific team for this account. And it was kind of falling on, not kind of, it was falling on me. So I can remember one of the team people literally says to me, John, you're going to have to tell us exactly what to do. Well, that scared me to death because I didn't know what to do. And I don't want to turn this into a me thing. Okay. We had 5 people that were critical. Here were 2 of the team members. If they catch this replay or if they're on live, I would be forever grateful. One of the people that was really pivotal, was my friend and colleague, Debbie Black, and our research director at the time, Aladdin Nazir. Both of them literally told the story to the clients about literally a wheel. The wheel was telling the story of the differences in culture in terms of the ways that people buy a product, appreciate a product, the way that with the culture that we were representing, that it's a family affair and it's a huge accomplishment, whereas typical culture was the sense of, well, I deserve this car, I deserve this. And so it was such a powerful story that the clients not only kept us on the campaign, but elevated our status in the campaign. And we heard incredible things. So what we were able to do was tell a compelling story with the data. So what is the workaround? Less is more, folks. Less is more. Keep the information to a point that is easily explainable. Again, remember the who, where, why does it matter? You will sound clear when you know the data, but you will really sound clear when you are telling a story. You know why? Because you're coming from contribution. You're coming from a point of service. Anytime someone tells a story, it's always a nice thing, right? I mean, think about it. When you've told a story in the past, or even better, when you've heard a good story, don't you feel pulled in? Tell me, drop a note in the comments. You know what I mean? Like I said, don't you feel pulled in when that happens? Right. Of course you do. Of course you do. And for me, I want to learn more. You should have the depth. You should bring the substance. Folks, when I coach people, I'm coaching with science and data in regards to the ability to leverage my voice. But you don't have to become a scientist. No one is asking me to be a scientist, and I would be terrible, right? I'm not a scientist. I'm not I'm not a research director, but the fact of the matter is bring the data that's relevant, know the story, and best of all, tell the story. You guys cool with that? Great. I got one more tip that to me matter, and then we're going to pull it all together. All right. So that's to me like in a perfect world, we get to pull this all together. So, but here's our third tip that I want to go with. All right. And I'm calling it all in. All in. So, folks, talk to me. Feedback, two-way communication is such a pivotal part of growing your business. I'm thinking the people, my colleagues, the people that have signed up for these calls, for these sessions, senior media leaders, whether it's in sales, whether it is in marketing, whether it is the ad agency personnel, my real estate colleagues that have teams, build teams. The fact of the matter is feedback is one of the most important things that you need to be able to deliver and receive. So first off, let's dumb this down. And we'll talk about not just, I know you know what feedback is, but the fact that let's dumb it down to the point of how you could literally think on your feet in regards to being helpful and of service and delivering a message and receiving a message so that you, your team, the company improves and the results improve. Let me give you very specific examples. Okay. So if you think about feedback in the sense of somebody asking, how did I do? Was it okay? Did I do okay? What do you think? Every one of those questions allows for you to realize, especially if you're the one giving feedback, the human nature of all of this. People are vulnerable in general. If I'm asking for feedback, if I'm asking the basic, hey, what do you think? Was that okay? Was that cool? You can literally hear in my voice the fact that I feel vulnerable. So when you are asking for feedback, remember the personal nature. And more importantly, when you are delivering the feedback. Let me give you a story first, and then I can give you the solve in regards to how to sound clear, convincing, but engaging too. Okay. So here's the story. One of the best managers, I'm going to give you two, as a matter of fact. Here's your bonus story, but here's the first one. One of the best managers I ever had. Her name is Karen Graham, and I literally get choked up thinking about her. She passed away, and she really was one of the coolest people I ever met. And one of the funniest, smartest, brainiac, great with her team. Here's the deal. So I worked at a television station in Philadelphia. At the time, it was a Tribune company. And I have great pride. Oh, baby. Bruno, good to have you. Good to have you, and thank you. So the company was the Tribune-based television station in Philadelphia. I still have friends there. WPHL TV, Channel 17 in Philadelphia. And it was one of my very favorite places to work. So Karen Graham was our sales manager. I went over there as an account executive at the time. Left a managerial position, went to and become an account executive. And I remember there were 10 account executives on the team. And we were all running into Karen's office all day, every day, like sheep, literally. She was our problem solver. She made your world better. She made the clients better. She was your sales manager, psychologist, surgeon. She was all of those things. And she had to be. So why I say that, I can still remember walking into Karen's office one time. And I used to pride myself in terms of the sense of being able to multitask. I used to think that was good, right? I'm bringing in client folders and I'm messing around. Who's old enough? Type in the comments, in the chat. Who's old enough to remember BlackBerries? I don't mean BlackBerries that you eat. They're great. I mean BlackBerries that you used to use that masqueraded as phones. So I would bring in a BlackBerry and I'm playing on the BlackBerry and looking here and looking over there and having conversations literally about a million things. Karen stops me during the conversation because I had a proposal I wanted her help with. Karen stops me and says, hey, do you want me to focus on this proposal or would you rather I just talk to you? And I remember being so put out. I remember thinking, Mike Plishka, God love you. I'm glad you're here. And Zoran, thank you for the feedback. I remember being so put out, thinking, okay, for God's sake, you literally can't do this and say hi to me or whatever. Zoran, I may too. I may too. So I remember being so put out. But here's what I came to realize, folks. Karen was a genius. And here's why. That 100% all in, I still carry that to this day, including today, right now. The only way you can sound clear is to be clear. And the easiest way to do that is 100% attention on each encounter. You know what else Karen did? So when she was done with the proposal, I mean, she was done. She was done. It was like, okay, literally out of her mind. You would go back to her and ask like a detailed question. Oh, do you remember that? She'd be like, no, I don't. Again, it's awful. I would like, oh my God, Jesus, what the hell's the matter with her? Here's what the matter with her is. Nothing. Because once she let that matter conclude, very next person, the very next situation, she was 100% all in. It is so easy to sound and be clear. It is so easy to sound and get your message across and be believable, engaging when you're all there. I want to go back to the ums and ahs, right? Do you remember when we talked about the science? I won't bore you with scientists. Again, I'm not a scientist and I don't play one on TV. But the fact is, here's what I would say. These are distractions to your brainwaves because you are literally somewhere else. You've literally transported somewhere else to the next client, to your next teammate, to your next listing, to that next big presentation. So these messages are not just for you, although please do take whatever you need here, leave the rest behind, as they say. But here's what else I would say. If you're a coach, if you're coaching a team, I talked about speaking for the St. Elizabeth's baseball team. I literally, as if you are leading a team, if you are leading a real estate organization, if you are leading a media company, you are sending people out to do a job. And I just remind you, reinforce the clarity. You'll say, are you clear? And of course, the other person will say yes, because what else are they going to say? Or they'll be like, I don't know. Of course, they're going to say yes. Here's what I mean. Are you clear with the content? So, folks, none of these tips, none of these hacks replace good content. None of these tips, none of these hacks replace really strong preparation. However, when you are in the situation, my job is to make certain when you are literally at the 5-yard line that you cross the goal line. That's my job. And that's what I'm looking for you. For me, these have worked simply because that all-in part, I sound more clear. I sound more engaged. And to me, Bill Meinl, God almighty, 2 days in? Yes, baby. I'm saying point blank, stay where you are. People so respect when somebody is all in on a conversation. It doesn't take that much. It really doesn't. If you are utilizing a calendar and your every quarter hour is filled with something, great. But here's my recommendation. Don't cheat yourself. If you say I'm doing this for the next 15 minutes, then go do it. But doing that and running over here and juggling 6 other balls, your team feels when you're not there. I guarantee you, I've been a manager. I've had managers. I know what it's like when the manager is not there or somewhere else. And speaking of managers, I'm going to tell one more example where, in terms of the feedback, Let me give you an example of someone who really helped me. So, one of my former colleagues, and I am such a fan, his name is Buff Parham. And if he is anywhere within distance of this call, I hope so. I love Buff Parham. He was one of the senior leaders at that same media company that I'm so proud to have represented. I remember, you want to give really good feedback? I'm going to defer to my colleague, Buff Parham. I'm going to channel Buff for a moment. Remember the words that I was using? Hey, what'd you think? Did I do all right? Did I handle this situation okay? Have you ever used those words with somebody? Tell me. Drop it in the chat. Did I do okay? What do you think? Of course, it takes a lot to get the words out. Well, how could I have improved? That's hard. But just think that as you're leaving yourself so vulnerable. So, Buff Parham, what did he do? I remember talking to Buff at a conference. So we're off site. I think we were at some like hotel bar before the evening event or whatever. And I asked him the question, hey, what do you think? Did I handle it all right? You know what's amazing with that? I didn't get the answer I wanted, but I got the tone and the clarity that I needed. When I was asked, did I handle it okay? He was like, actually, no, I think I would have done it a little bit better. I would have done this. I didn't die. I didn't quit. I didn't file a suit. The truth of the matter is, I literally was ready in terms of just hearing the feedback because he said it so well, so damn well, And so with that being said, what I remind everybody is simply this, which is when you're all in, when you are clear, Buff Parham, yeah. So my day has officially been made. But the truth is, when you give feedback, when you are focused and all in and not distracted, you typically will do it in a way that's engaging, that someone would want to hear. You know what happens when you're distracted? You got to be like suddenly brought back to a matter. And when you do, you sound tense. You can sound short. You can sound distant. You can sound aloof. And the other person, because they're vulnerable, has no idea what the hell the reality is. So they're just going to look at the worst case scenario, right? So, as I promised, we put this all together. Today, we focused on 3 tips to get us a little bit more clear. The actual focus, it comes up a lot, but your number one hack that I would say, anytime you feel yourself being pulled away mentally, right? Or someone trying to get your attention, remember it's focus. It's not hocus pocus. Literally, ask yourself the questions. Who am I speaking with? Where am I? And why does it matter to them? It snaps you back to attention. Number 2, tell me a story. Take whatever your compelling data is and make it into an engaging, relatable story. When you are telling the story, you understand the materials. For God's sake, here's what's you sound engaging. You sound as if you're coming from service. That's the sound of clarity in your voice. On the story side, one of the best storytellers I've ever encountered. One of the very best. Her name is Lisa McCarthy. She still tells killer stories. She has created her own media consulting company. But the fact of the matter is, she was with us at Univision and told the most compelling stories that you were literally riveted. And she was using a lot of data, but the sounds was so compelling. And that's why I'm saying, tell a relatable story, okay? And then number 3, we go back to as well. Number 3, the all in. Give the respect of your team, your individuals, your clients, your colleagues, your audience. Give them the basic common courtesy of being all in. You don't need to handle every single thing on your own all at once, right? The fact of the matter is, like right now, be there, literally be there. Don't worry if you don't know every single answer. Don't worry if you have to say to somebody, I don't know. By the way, as data is so readily available, nobody cares if somebody doesn't know. You know what they care about? If you don't care and you sound like you don't care. If you are bad at follow up, hey, I don't know, but I'll get back to you, and you don't, that's a problem. If you sound put out that somebody asks you something because you're uncomfortable, because you're insecure, because you don't want to get, found out as the fraud that you think you are. That's probably a mental issue that I'm going to let therapists deal with, or mine. But the fact is, what I would say is allow yourself the freedom to be fully present in a conversation. Okay? So those three things, if you did nothing else but those three things, I'm telling you right now, the fact of the matter is you'd be in a better place. You would literally be in a better place. So that's what I'm saying in regards to today. Okay. For me, it's so damn important just to be, again, clear. And everyone wants to talk about clarity. Oh, clarity this and clarity that. Well, it's one thing to know what you're talking about. It's another to sound like you know what you're talking about. So, folks, this is what I wanted to convey today. Okay. All of this, again, remember, for you, bring it back to your teams. Use it today. Optimizing your communication by leveraging your voice is really, really a basic situation. It is when you handle it, things just move magically. I talk about moving mountains with your voice. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Literally, it's a case where, honest to God, you put that in play, you're going to be in a better place. Hey, by the way, I'm going to pop a link right now that I want you guys to take a look at. And when I do, here's the giveaway. You stay with me. I told you half hour, 45 minutes. We're going to wrap this up in literally a minute. And so here's the link. The magic happens like this. Anyone that's on this call that's stuck around, use this link. Bill Meinl is one of those cool people that took advantage of this. Use this link. What I can do is provide a free 30-minute, and I often go long. You've heard me talk, right? So maybe I go a couple minutes longer than 30, but the time is yours so that we can focus on your specifics, what you can do to optimize your communications. And I'm offering that, a free 30-minute discovery call. Literally click the link, book the time, and I'm there for you. It's the whole point. All of this is individualized. I can work with my experience, work on the data, work with the science, but it's so much fun for me to help somebody. I get such joy out of the fact that literally you watch someone change and change quickly. I'll leave you with this today. I really used to think that the way that good presenters, good speakers, people said that about me, right? I'm always grateful to hear that. I used to think it just was like one of those weird things you are or you're not. I can promise you, all of this is scalable. Everybody can improve as it relates to their communications ability. And that's why I get to continue to do this. So I told you, this is a 5-day blitz. Tomorrow I'm coming back at 12 noon. And I've got another topic that we're going to chew on. Again, all of this is to make certain that you can walk away today realizing that these quick tweaks, shifts, literally pivots can literally transform you, make your voice sound authentic. Nobody needs you to sound like an announcer. Simply, it's a matter of sounding your best, most true, authentic self. Why is this so appropriate in business? People respond to it. Sales are generated by it. You think it's your reams of data? You think it's your sports and concert tickets that you're throwing around? Well, maybe. But why not stack the deck with an engaging, compelling voice that people want to hear? Again, you don't need to sound like an announcer. I just want you to sound your best version of you. Okay? So, folks, click the link, book the time if you'd like. You will find me here tomorrow at 12 noon if you want to keep rolling along, and I hope you do. I really hope you do. Join me. But, folks, I'm really grateful that you showed up for me today. John Duffin here with Duffin Media and Duffin Coaching. Thank you so much for doing all this. I'm thrilled that you chose to spend your lunchtime with me. Have a great afternoon, folks. Be well. Thanks all. Bye.